Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something that seems to be on a lot of people's minds, maybe especially if you're, in that 55 to 75 chapter, downsizing. We really want to explore this idea. Can having less actually lead to, well, a richer life, more fulfilling?
Exactly. And think of this deep dive as maybe your shortcut, a quick way to grasp why someone might think about this shift, when it makes sense,
Right.
and maybe more importantly, how it could genuinely lead to, well, less stress and a more enriched life for you. We're looking beyond just, clearing out the garage.
It's a fundamental change, yeah. And we've looked at some really interesting stuff for this materials, talking about the practical side, but also the deeper benefits. And this isn't exactly new, is it? This move towards simpler living, it has roots. Late 20th century, minimalism starting up, more environmental awareness.
Oh, absolutely. That definitely set the stage. And then you get figures like Marie Kondo,
right,
with her whole spark joy idea.
Yeah.
It sounds simple, but it's actually quite powerful. It really made people think differently about their relationship with their stuff.
Yeah.
It's definitely more than just tidying.
Okay, so let's really dig into the why then, because it's clearly not just about having fewer things to dust. What are the real motivations here?
Well, what's fascinating is how it spreads.
Yeah.
It's not just confined to the physical space. Yes, clearing out your house is a big part, but think about the potential financial freedom.
Ah, okay.
Lower mortgage maybe, smaller utility bills, definitely less spent on upkeep, and let's be honest, less spent storing things you hardly ever touch. For a lot of folks, that's a huge relief. Some studies even suggest downsizers in, say, your age group can free up quite a bit of monthly income.
And I imagine emotionally, it must be incredibly freeing too, all that stuff. It can feel like a weight, can't it? Like mental clutter.
Precisely. It's like little anchors. We collect things tied to memories, sometimes obligations, maybe even versions of ourselves that aren't really us anymore.
Yeah.
Letting go can bring such mental clarity, reduces that, decision fatigue.
Yeah.
And then think about the big life transitions many people are facing. Retirement, maybe sadly, the loss of a partner, or just that strong desire to finally travel more. Downsizing can feel like you're actively taking back your time, your space, your energy for those new priorities.
Okay, so we're getting a feel for the personal drivers, but what about the experts, the people who've really studied this? Who are some of the main voices here?
Yeah, a couple really stand out. There's Joshua Becker. He wrote The More of Less. His whole point really is that minimalism isn't about deprivation.
Right.
It's about intentionally clearing out the non-essential things so you actually create room, make space for what truly adds value to your life, your relationships, experiences, passions.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's like a conscious choice about what matters most now. Who else should we know about?
Francine J. She wrote The Joy of Less. Her work really dives into how decluttering can transform not just your house, but your whole life.
Transformative, okay.
Yeah, she gives very practical tips. But the core message is about fundamentally changing how you think about consumption, about possessions.
It really does sound like a mindset shift. Now, I saw some numbers, some statistics that are, frankly, a bit startling about how much we actually accumulate. It's kind of mind-boggling.
It really is. Get this. The average American home, estimated to have over 300,000 items inside.
300,000.
Yeah, think about the sheer volume. It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Shows the potential impact of letting some of it go.
Wow, 300,000 things. Makes you wonder how much of that we even use or remember we have. And then there's that whole self-storage thing you mentioned.
Exactly. The fact that self-storage is, a $38 billion industry in the U.S. alone, it just screams excess, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We have so much extra stuff. We're paying rent just to keep it somewhere else. It really shows the weight, the burden we often carry around without needing to.
It's like paying a subscription for your own clutter.
Yeah.
And then you see the more, let's say, extreme end of this desire to minimize, like the tiny house movement.
Right. Now, obviously, living in a couple hundred square feet isn't going to work for everyone. But the tiny house movement, it's a fascinating example.
Definitely.
It shows that powerful drive to slash your environmental footprint, cut living costs way down. It's a very conscious choice for significantly less. And for many, surprisingly, it brings a lot of freedom.
Okay, so this all sounds logical, makes sense. But, for someone listening right now who feels like they're practically buried under decades of possessions, where do you even start? What's a practical first step?
That's maybe the most important question. The absolute key is making it feel doable, not overwhelming.
Yeah, avoid the overwhelm.
Exactly. So the consistent advice is start small. Seriously small. Don't try to declutter the whole house in one go. Pick one tiny area, a drawer, one shelf, a closet corner.
Okay.
That first small win, it builds momentum, makes the whole thing feel less like climbing a mountain.
That's really practical advice. Small victories add up. What else? What else should someone think about when they're starting out?
It's super important to set clear goals. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? Really pin it down. Is it mostly financial? Want to cash for travel or hobbies? Or is it about less house maintenance, less burden? Knowing your why gives you a kind of compass. Helps you make those tricky decisions about what stays and what goes.
And it can get emotional, right? Dealing with things that have memories attached.
Oh, absolutely. Deeply emotional
Yeah.
sometimes, which is why involving family and friends can be such a big help.
Ah, good point.
They can give you emotional backup, maybe a bit of objective perspective on things you're stuck on, and hey, even practical help sorting and moving stuff. Sometimes just having someone else there makes all the difference.
That's a great idea, a support system. And while we live in a digital age now, there must be ways to reduce the physical clutter using tech.
Totally. Digitize where possible. That's a massive space saver. Think about scanning old photos, important papers, converting CDs and DVDs to digital files.
Right.
It frees up so much physical space. Plus, it often makes finding things, accessing those memories or that music much easier.
Okay, and then what do you do with the things you do decide you don't need anymore? What's the best way to handle that?
Donate or sell unwanted items. This is great because, one, it clears the space, obviously, but two, it can give you a real sense of purpose.
How so?
Well, knowing your old things are going to someone who actually needs them or will use them, that makes letting go feel better, easier. Plus, selling some valuable things might bring in a little extra cash. It's a win-win, really.
Those are all very solid, practical steps. Now, you mentioned earlier some more creative ideas, kind of outside-the-box ways to approach this whole thing. I was curious about those.
Yeah, a couple of fun ones. One idea is the time capsule. If you're really struggling with certain sentimental things you don't need day to day, but can't quite part with,
Okay.
carefully pack a few really meaningful items into a box, seal it up, label it to be opened on a specific future date, maybe an anniversary or 10 years down the line. It's a way to acknowledge their value, preserve the memory, without having them take up space now. It's like saying, I see you, you're important, but I'll revisit you later.
That's actually a really thoughtful way to handle it. Honors the past, but lets you move on. What was the other creative one?
You could host a downsizing party.
A party? Really?
Yeah. Invite friends, family over, make it social, put on some music, have some snacks. They can help you sort, share stories about the items.
Okay.
And maybe they'll even want or need some of the things you're letting go of. It gives your possessions a new life directly and makes the whole process feel more collaborative, maybe even fun.
That actually sounds way better than tackling boxes alone in the attic.
Hmm.
So when you boil it all down, this isn't really just about tidying up the house, is it? It's
Yeah.
something deeper. A shift in how we see our stuff.
Exactly right. That's the core of it. Downsizing, fundamentally, is about realizing that happiness, well-being, they're much more tied to experiences, relationships, personal growth
Yeah.
than they are to just the sheer amount of things we own. That figure, 300,000 items, that doesn't automatically equal 300,000 units of happiness.
Right. So by consciously letting go of the extra, the stuff we don't truly need or love, we're actually making room, creating space for things that are, well, more valuable.
Precisely. You're not just freeing up square footage in your home, you're creating mental space. Emotional space, room for new possibilities, maybe more peace, a clearer sense of purpose for whatever comes next.
So wrapping up this deep dive then, if there's one key message for listeners thinking about downsizing, what would you say it is?
I think the main thing to grasp is that this is really a personal journey. It can be incredibly empowering. It's heading towards a life that feels more manageable and ultimately, more fulfilling.
Yeah.
Your reasons will be your own, but the basic idea is the same.
Which is
Intentionally making space, real, physical, mental space for what truly matters to you.
And it's so crucial to remember, like we've talked about, this isn't about depriving yourself, is it? It's not about sacrifice or living in some kind of empty box.
Not at all, no. It's about consciously choosing what surrounds you. Making sure your possessions align with who you are now, with your current lifestyle, your values. It's an active choice. Prioritizing quality over quantity, you could say, in every part of life. Making room for joy, for freedom.
That's a really powerful frame. Quality over quantity. Okay, so Maybe something to think about as you go about your day. Consider this. What's just one area of your life? Could be physical clutter, sure. Could be digital clutter on your phone or computer. Could even be, too many commitments on your calendar. Where might embracing a little bit of less actually, maybe surprisingly, lead to more? More joy, more freedom, more peace. Definitely something to mull over. Thanks for exploring downsizing with us today.